Hello, my big, beautiful brains. It's about 6:03 in the morning, and I want to share everything that I've learned or everything I know about Zimmer Biomed. Now, the reason I'm kind of whisper talking and sound groggy is it's early. My kids are sleeping over there. And for the last 2 weeks or so, I've been researching Zimmer Biomed extensively because I got a shoulder tap for an opportunity there. And I'd like to bring you into proximity with that research because I think it could be really helpful for you if you're in the medtech spaces looking for new opportunities, both to better understand this company, who they are and where they're going, but also how I do due diligence for different job opportunities because I'm really focused on one opportunity at a time and going really deep on it as opposed to like just shooting off 200 plus resumes or things like that. I actually am trying to attract shoulder taps. So let's go into this. And I hope this is incredibly valuable for you. We get to watch some robotics footage. We're going to watch surgery. There's going to be blood. It's awesome. All right. Let's jump into it. So, first of all, everything I know about Zimmer Biomed, a little bit of context on the shoulder tap. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Joey Sosaki. I've been doing surgical robotics for about a decade in a wide range of capacities. I worked at Johnson & Johnson as a design engineer, robotics controls engineer, systems engineer across Ethicon, Verb Surgical, and Oris. And then I directed front-end innovation in Tokyo, where I traveled the region, connected with clinicians, understood their unmet needs using Stanford Biodesign, and then directed an ecosystem of 32 global collaborators to develop new technologies on their behalf. That job was impacted. I was offered a pathway back to the US, but my family just had our fourth kid in country, and we moved 12 times in 1 year to get to Japan. Took this crazy exit into all in entrepreneurship in Tokyo. Failed at that after 7 months. We hit zero in a foreign country with four kids. Relocated to Chicago, continued entrepreneurship for another 9 months. Finally got some financial revenue going that way. But in parallel, I've been looking for opportunities to lead at a global level, like in a director level role. And I've been doing content and bringing people into proximity with my story. And I got a really interesting, curious tap from Zimmer Biomed, and it was a company I knew nothing about. Like I had seen maybe one or two clips from LSI about it. I was like, oh, it's like they do knee implants. Like I was just completely in a fog about it. I had no idea they were in robotic surgery at all. And they're also 3.5 hours from Chicago, which is where I'm based right now. I'm a care provider for my grandfather who's got kidney failure. So it's a really, really curious fit for me to leverage all my learnings from Oris, Ethicon, Verb, directing front end innovation, and coming into a company with a culture that is very unique. And we're going to jump into that. So that's the context on the shoulder tap. I'm taking it very seriously. I'm in conversations. In parallel, I'm also looking at other opportunities in other spaces, as well as doing medtech consulting. But that's how we got here. Now, why I'm sharing my journey, there's a couple reasons. I mean, one selfishly is just it helps me understand something when I teach it. So when I go through all of this research process and I try to pull together these summaries, it prepares me better for interviews and discussions. And I can prepare to a different level of depth when I know I have to teach it. So it's just helping me like embody this opportunity. But second, my context is really interesting. Probably 50% of my group is like followings on LinkedIn because I have 1,000 followers. Just hit that a few days ago. I have directors, VPs, CEOs of different medtech companies, a lot of folks in the surgical robotic spaces. But then the other half is about engineers and people that are early in career looking for new opportunities, either to progress technically or into leadership. So by bringing them into proximity with my approaches to how I'm finding new opportunities and how I hunt and kind of understand a company, I'm hoping that it accelerates their ability to land a job so that they can progress global healing within their unique context. So that's the why. All right, so let's jump into the research. First of all, culture is huge. That's normally the first thing I try to understand. I do need to work through a P&L, like latest earnings report for this company. I just haven't gotten to it yet. From what I can see, they're healthy totally, but I'd like to understand where their money's moving. But the culture is a big one. And let me show you how I do this. Let me move my big head over here for a second. And I'll just make it big. We'll go on tour. And then we'll get back to the note sheet. So this is Santosh. We had connected through LinkedIn on other content. Really interesting guy. And then he made this announcement. He's going to Zimmer Biomed. Glad to be working with Joe Urban. And then Ivan. Like on LinkedIn, if you see posts like this, all you have to do is click on people to understand like the essence of who they are, what they're moving towards, what they care about. So if he's going to Zimmer Biomed, he's advancing healthcare through AI, imaging, and robotics. You can see the kinds of projects he's worked on. He's very startup in nature, just based on founding his own stuff. I've watched some of his videos with Joe Mullins as well. So it gives you like an idea of if that person who's done all these things is in this location, how are they shaping culture? And then if you keep laddering up that post, Joe was a really interesting one. Joe Urban, he's a heavy hitter in this space for sure. And I watched a couple podcasts that he was on. Oh, he was at Oris. I forgot about that. BD. But you can kind of see like what they worked on. One of the things that was interesting for him is when he was coming into Zimmer Biomed, he had a mission of hitting 100 surgeries in 100 days. And that really spoke to me. And then we'll get to, well, actually, let's run to Ivan and we'll hold that thought from Joe. And then Ivan, the culture he's creating as the CEO, kind of bringing Zimmer Biomed from a traditional orthopedic implants into this smart interconnected ecosystem that provides solutions holistically as opposed to just an implant. He is on the road an incredible amount of time, just going and connecting with clinicians. If you look through all his posts, he's making it a priority to be as close to the customers he serves as possible. And as a leader out in front, that's phenomenal. He's also has a very strong voice in LinkedIn. He's doing all his content. He's engaging with people. So for me as a storyteller, that speaks to me as well. So why was the 100 surgeries so interesting to me? So when I was in Japan, so this is right here. We're going to learn some Japanese. Sanbyaku Shijutsu Bijon. This was one of my early strategies directed front-end innovation. I went to a case observation for colorectal resection in Kitakyushu, and I was with basically like my lead partner. He was in global strategic regional marketing in Japan, but he had done sales for Ethicon for probably 20 plus years. And I asked him, like, how many surgeries have you been in? He said 3,000. And that was just such a large, incredible number to me. I was like, so do you still get anything out of this? Like, are you still learning? He's like, every time he's in surgery, he gleans something. So for me coming into the role, so like, let's do this Sambyaku Shijutsu vision. Let's have this vision of seeing 300 surgeries during my time in Japan. Bijon is vision. And this is really bold. But for me, I wanted to immerse in the OR. I hit 40 over the course of 2.5 years. I had different challenges with business constraints and priorities to get into the field as much as I wanted, because I also had to build the ecosystem to teleport other members of R&D into surgery. But this is something that was really compelling to me when I heard like Joe was hitting 100 surgeries in 100 days to truly understand it. There's something beautiful that happens when you do ethnographic immersion within surgery, when you're connecting with the clinicians, when you're hearing all this feedback and synthesizing, like, where do we need to be moving? Where are our competitors moving? So that was an aspect of culture, of being hands-on and proximal, that was really compelling to me. Because during the first 8 years of my career in Johnson & Johnson, I attended one surgery while working across a wide range of surgical technologies, 2 different surgical robotics platforms, and all the iterations prior to those. So when I got in Japan and got up to 40 surgeries, that like expanded my entire world on like where we could go with medtech across the continuum of care, both intraoperative, preoperative, and post-operative surveillance and monitoring to get better outcomes. And to see Zimmer like pushing, I don't know why I wrote their name, this whole thing's about Zimmer, but to see Zimmer pushing this way with the heads of the company really getting out there, for me, that was like, this is something I could do. I would love to be in spaces interacting with clinicians and then bringing my team into that culture as well, like cascading that all the way down to the ground and then innovating with this empathetic understanding and this proximity of what are the real pains we should be solving for. And now let's transform technology on behalf of these clinicians. So that was really cool. So that was a box check for me of like, yes. Okay, so let's watch a clip between Omar Khatib and Nicholas Telemates. Omar has this incredible podcast called, and I can't remember it off the top of my head, something medtech, the state of medtech. So we'll watch this clip. And then he's having a discussion with Nicholas Telemates, which is an incredible follow on LinkedIn. So I'll just pull up Nicholas really quick. Nicholas, because even though I haven't engaged with him, his content's been incredibly helpful for me. I'll tag him in this post. So he's Senior Director of Market Intelligence at LSI. LSI is kind of a hub of all insights of life. I think it stands for Life Science Insights, actually. they use the acronym so much that I forget what it means, but they curate these awesome events. I think they're doing 3 a year now in Europe, Asia, and US. And they bring together investors, startup founders, strategics to circle around these different medtech opportunities and get deals signed so that people could actually get these innovations progressing from a financial perspective. And his content's fantastic. He does this by the numbers, these summaries that show different deals that are occurring. And I can't follow all of them because his volume of putting stuff out is too high for me. But every once in a while, I take a glance, and it's incredibly helpful to just see how things are moving. So, all that said, Omar has an incredible podcast, State of MedTech. He's done more episodes than I can watch. So they're going to have a little 2 or 3 minute dialogue, but there's a lot to unpack from it. So we'll watch that, and then I'll jump into Think Surgical, Monogram. There's a really cool video of this robotic system. So we'll actually watch a robotic autonomous knee surgery, and then Persona IQ, and just where I think this whole thing's going. So let's jump in. It's going to be deep.
The one headline which I got everybody's attention, which was Monogram getting acquired for $177 million by Zimmer Biomed, which is a next generation orthopedic robotic platform and implant personalization. That being said, though, can we talk for a second about Zimmer? Why did they make that acquisition of Monogram?
Yeah,
because they have the MedTech ROSA.
Yeah, they have ROSA. They have a partnership with Think Surgical. To your point, what are they doing? I think, and this is, I want to go back and revisit what I really like about Think Surgical. You shared some great things about them. What I love about Think Surgical, in my, let's call it cynicism towards the surgical robotics industry, is that they have an open platform. So if you're unaware, for the uninitiated, when it comes to orthopedic surgical robots, almost all of them are limited to which implants you can use them with. So they're effectively a Trojan horse for orthopedic implants. Stryker wants you to have their robot so that then you have to use their implants in the patients you're treating. Think Surgical has done away, and that's not knocking it. That's a business strategy. But I like the openness, because not all implants are going, it's not a one size fit all thing. There's additional patient need to be able to have access to other implants and other types of implants while still using and getting the benefits of robotics. Think Surgical is doing that. So I really like that. Why is Zimmer Biomet buying another robotics platform? I think and I'd have to revisit the subject a little bit here, so I'm going to feign a little ignorance. It's to continue to maintain market share and make sure that they can compete against other major players in this space, like Stryker, like Smith & Nephew.
And I think it's a really important point to bring up. I think, at least from what I read, Zimmer, their interest in Monogram was partly their semi and fully autonomous capabilities, but also I think the other side of it is that it's an open platform. And I think that if you are a strategic and you have, let's say, a robot that is fitted with your implants, sometimes you have to do a land and expand. And so if you can't sell the whole thing, the name of the game is lifetime value, and lifetime value doesn't come from robot sales. Lifetime value, or at least for orthopedic space, it comes from implants.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, so that's the money. First of all, thank you both for that feedback, because that was really helpful in my research. Let me pull back open my slides. Oh no. I'm looking at the clock. I was like, I got 13 minutes. So I got to wake the kids up for school. All right. So a couple insights from that. So we have Zimmer, Think Surgical, and Monogram. And the first question they kind of drill into is why 3 robots? So I have some interesting learnings from the Ethicon Verb Oris days, because on the ground as an engineer in these ecosystems, I didn't really understand what was going on in the beginning. I just kept asking questions of leadership to figure out, like, why is J&J leveraging money with Google through Alphabet to create Verb Surgical? Like, why doesn't Ethicon just make their own robot? They did a build to buy model. And then as things were progressing with Verb, we then go out and acquire Oris, which I didn't fully understand initially as well, which is another robotics company. They had a 6-arm robot in development. We were building a 4-arm robot with Verb. And there's one point we had a town hall. I'm pretty sure I can share this. I'll de-identify it and things like that. We had a town hall, and a lot of engineers are like, what the heck's going on? We've been building this platform on Verb for all these years. Now we're acquiring this company, which seems to be very similar. And are we going to launch this platform with Verb? Are we going to launch that platform? And I remember the leader saying, we will launch one kick-ass robot. And that created this crazy organizational reshuffle and panic that cascaded for months. And then we pivoted towards Oris as a platform. While Verb continued to progress in parallel, we ran into challenges with Oris, which I think was made public, and then we pivoted back to the Verb Forum architecture, and that's what we'll launch with Otava. So eventually, though, after acquiring Oris, we acquired Verb Surgical, and part of it, and again, I won't fully divulge this, but what I think you see happening here, where you have the Rosa robot, you have Think Surgical, which we'll unpack, and Monogram, is you have intellectual property in these different companies, you have different capabilities in these companies, and even though they have overlapping product offerings, you can either bring all this into one robot downstream, or you segment your market, right? You have different portfolios of robotic offerings that allow customization of like competitor implants, because there might be one clinician that really wants to use Zimmer Biomed's implants 82% of the time, but for those other 18%, if the Think Surgical or Monogram platform could get them there, they would want that. Monogram's fully autonomous, which is epic, and I'll show you a video of that. And then Think Surgical has a really low footprint. It's this robotic handheld. I still feel like it's just a handheld with some extra mechanisms in it, but I might be oversimplifying it. So you have a different footprint, which means you can get into the ACSs a little bit easier as well with that. So let's jump into Think Surgical, and I'm just going to talk over, like, if you've never seen them, they're very interesting. So I'll just refresh this, and you'll get like some nice little animations that happen. And we'll kind of talk through robotics reimagined. So basically, you have there's like this overhead boom, and then you have this miniature handheld, and you can then have the handheld will robotically assist when you're cutting different planes on the knee to prepare for an orthopedic implant. So rather than having a full room robot that takes up all this space, you have this tracking that will allow that little mechanism that's holding the blade adjust and correct for maybe hand vibration and positioning. So you're still driving it through, it's assisted. But it's not docked to an arm or anything like that, which is really curious. I think it's a fun architecture. And for ASCs, which are auxiliary surgical centers, I believe, there's a lot of movement towards that, and they're smaller, and they care a lot about speed and cost, and this is less of a footprint than a huge Mako robot or the Rosa robot. Other fun things with robotics, I've played with Velis, which was a Diffuse Synthes acquisition of a robotic system, and I've done a virtual surgery with it in VR. Like, they're using VR to train different clinicians, and with that one, you kind of tap different aspects of the knee. We'll see this in the next video from Monogram, and then the robot will do the cut, but you kind of like assist the robot cutting, so it positions, and that way you get like really good clean cuts. Here, let's just show it. Think's doing that in a handheld fashion, which is quite curious. I like it. Look at the targeting. Oh, and so the adjustment automatically based on your hand was off a bit. That's so tight. Love it. All right, so let's look at Monogram. So this is about 6 minutes. We might speed run a portion of it, although I could watch it. And I'll just kind of loosely talk through it. So you have a robot here. Let me turn this down. And what he's doing, he's got a foot pedal there. So whenever he positions this device, it has these 4 little dots on it. There's an optical sensor that's figuring out like where this stick is in its tip in comparison to the knee. There's, I think, optics there as well for the knee. You want to hold it really tight. And then back over here, there's a camera thing that is knowing exactly where the positioning is. So you're building a digital model of the knee so that the robot knows where it's at in space. There it is. That little sensor, I believe, is what's detecting it. I don't know if it's using IR. We had a system called Atraxis we played around with in R&D that was similar to this. So you got your knee, and then he's going to do a couple more checks. By the way, I don't clinically fully understand all the steps of a knee surgery. I've just started watching these surgeries. I know colorectal and thoracic surgeries very well. But you have the robot, and that is now kind of figuring out where it's at in space. And then we're going to cut these different planes on the knee. So I think you do like 2 kind of cuts so that you can put an implant and screw it in, and then because the cartilage is wearing down basically. So you got like this is like your Milwaukee multi-tool oscillating. Look at that sucker. It's beautiful. Get it. This is so fun. I saw this while I was cooking dinner last night. I was like, this is going in here. But notice nobody's driving it. With the Veli's system, the robot would hold the instrument. I would hold the robot and kind of guide it through each cut. So it's semi-autonomous. I'm still pushing it, but it knows the plane it should be cutting on with high-level precision. With this, the clinician pushes a button and it's cutting all the way through. Also, in transparency, I haven't seen any Mako surgeries, so I don't know where that technology is at. I know they have, I think, 70% of the market or so. Like, they have a large percentage of market share, so that's what Zimmer's up against. But even though they have a ROSA robot, which I think is similar to Veli's semi-autonomous, haven't seen a surgery of it yet. That's the hearsay I've picked up on. This is a different architecture, and there's different capabilities in this system to be able to do this semi-autonomously that Zimmer needs to have that full understanding of the robotic space in general, right? If you want to take the ROSA system and make it more autonomous, you probably could leverage capabilities the team's figured out on this platform, or you have 2 robotic offerings. I don't know what they will commercialize long term, but it's curious. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. I just want to watch this whole thing with you. Yep, so they're cutting these surfaces to prepare for an implant. And they'll do it on, I don't even know what these things are called. I was like, I don't know what the bones are called on the knee. I got to figure this out. All right, as sad as it kills me, let's fast forward. All right around here. Let's show the full knee, and gosh, it's awesome. But yeah, they do the whole thing in 6 minutes and 6 seconds. And I think they don't show how they do the implant, but I have a video for that for those who haven't seen it. So this would be screwed in, this metal piece, that metal piece would get bolted in, and then this black layer is simulating cartilage so that the knee can slide or move along itself. And then eventually they'd bring all the fun flappy parts back together so that you have a normal knee. Okay. 6 minutes and 6. Beautiful work, team. I don't know any of you yet, but absolutely incredible what folks are doing in medtech. All right. So the last thing I'll share, let me go back to my notes really quick. Okay, so Y3 robots, learnings from acquisition. Okay, so we got smart implants from Persona IQ, and then we'll talk through where we're going. Let's get over here. So we're going to watch a little clip. It's an ad insert for what I would say is probably their smartest, latest implant at Zimmer, like where they're moving in the implant space.
Persona IQ, the smart knee, is the next step in orthopedic innovation, redefining personalized knee care by combining the world's leading knee system with a smart stem extension that contains sensors to seamlessly collect objective data. The motion data collected includes your step count, walking speed, range of motion in your knee, cadence, stride length, and the distance you walk. The data collected by Persona IQ is transmitted through a home base station in your bedroom that you will simply set up one time before surgery following the instructions included in your welcome kit. Since the smart stem is integrated into the implant, it goes everywhere you go, collecting data in all sorts of circumstances without needing to turn it on, replace, or recharge the batteries. Persona IQ does not collect data on your location, where you have been, or where you are going. You and your surgeon can
Can we just pause? It does not collect data on where you're going, where you've been. Like, people have an apprehension to being tracked. So I just love that they call that out in this little ad insert. Okay, let's continue.
easily access your data through the secure, privacy-protected My Mobility app. With the My Mobility app, you are given the ability to stay connected with your care team, so you'll receive helpful reminders, progress reports, and support that's unique to you. Using the latest implant technology, you'll have confidence you're connected to your healthcare team every step of the way.
Awesome. By the way, there's an earlier part in this clip There you go. I think they highlight the other bone. Show me the other one. For my ignorance, so you have a tibia, a femur, and a tibia and a component. Okay, so that's what a knee looks like and what they're putting in. So that's final learnings, and then I gotta wake my kids up.
Plastic implants.
Yeah, we'll have to run this last bit quick. So first of all, like they're going after the continuum of care. We're gonna get into persona. Actually, let's just talk about persona really quick. So when you can have something inside somebody's body and actually get real world data, that is the power of the platform. As long as the implant actually allows them to move safely and have great recovery, if you could track, is this patient still getting up and walking? Or are you seeing a degradation in their activity levels over time? Are they having an adverse outcome with this implant? That's the magic. Like having that data, both for the patient, for the clinicians, but also for R&D, is incredibly valuable. And if they can do it in knee, they could probably do it in hip and shoulder and other places down the road, wherever they want to put in implants. So having all of that data architecture intentionally built and getting the right AI-driven insights and the right feedback back to patients and learning how to monetize that, that's going to be a really interesting game for Zimmer to play. So where do I think they're going? We'll do 3 quick hits, and I got to wake up my kids for school. They got to get on a bus in 45 minutes. The first of which, I see them owning the continuum of care, both the intraoperative space, post-operative recovery. What I'm most curious about and haven't seen is what they're doing for earlier interventions. Anything that would actually erode some of their existing robotics market by detecting the issues earlier, treating them sooner in different ways. Like, I don't know what Zimmer's doing upstream, but based on how proximal Ivan and the team, Joe, are being to clinicians, I'm curious how they're also going to start to be more proximal to not just the orthopedic surgeons, but folks that are providing care and diagnosing, hey, you should get referred to an orthopedic surgeon based on these things that are happening. Like, I want to see how they can own the end to end from a data set. You can predictively understand when is someone at the right point for an intervention to have an orthopedic implant or not. So I think that end to end is going to be really powerful once you have the ecosystem set up on the back end. You could stretch it out earlier and interact sooner. What if you could just do a really tiny hole in the center of someone's knee and put a little sensor in there to know when is it the right time that the cartilage is broken down too much that we have to move towards a knee surgery or things like that. I don't know. That's a quick curiosity. Someone could patent that and steal it. Just kidding. Maybe it's already patented. Okay, so owning continuum of care. The next one, which builds around that, is the digital ecosystem is just as valuable as the hardware. When you have the data, it can direct how the hardware needs to be adapted based on their needs. There's probably going to be tons of engineers that are looking at all this persona data that's coming in, and they'll start to understand what aspects of their implant aren't personalized enough, aren't rigid enough, aren't durable enough, in order to have someone maintain stride length and cadence longer to keep them moving. Are there needs for these implants to be remotely adjusted over time to kind of self-balance a human out? Like, there's probably a lot in those spaces, and having the data gives you the ability to, like, data allows you to innovate as opposed to guess, as opposed to being a wizard, which is making decisions with limited data or something. I forgot. There's a great engineering wizard t-shirt that I used to have. And then the final one, I see them owning the ASCs, these auxiliary surgical centers, as well as traditional hospital networks. Like, they're trying to win where you compete with a big robot, trying to win against Mako, trying to go fully autonomous. But then with the Think Surgical, I think they're adapting and having a different platform that challenges that larger robot, and it's open to any orthopedic implant so that you could take more of the market. All right, so that's 29 minutes of fun. I appreciate you, friends. If this is valuable, please repost it, share with other folks. I went really deep because it's helpful for me. I hope it's helpful for you. If you want to connect on a deeper level, even beyond LinkedIn, because you could always send me a DM, even though I'm sometimes flooded with stuff. I have a community on a platform called Skool, where I help people build the life they desire. Open that really quick, maybe. Nope, that's the wrong one. Oh, yeah. They have this cool little platform on Skool. This is a little mini plug. It's free and fun and different. And if I open it really quick, I did all my own marketing. I'm so proud. So basically, I help engineers, global leaders, which are left brains, right brains are creatives, community builders, whole brains are parents and entrepreneurs. And I hope folks build the life they desire, living where they want, loving what they do, and being paid well for it. And I give them a free assessment to get their life in the green so they could have greater definition, greater clarity, and a greater community that wraps around them and pushes them forward in their journey. So appreciate you. If you want to hop into that, I'll post a link in the comments, and I'll post a link to this full video, which you've already watched if you're on YouTube now. Sorry about that. And keep changing the world. Here's some confetti, and I'll see you on the next one. Let me know what I should talk about next.